Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvel cast, Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel. A place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Blue Marvel and Night Thrasher. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, and joining me for this special episode, the astonishing Dylan Blight.
Who is Blue Thrasher?
It's Blue Marvel. He's like a lightning-powered guy. Then Night Thrasher is also another character who I found randomly. Let's see. Looks like some sort of mercenary type.
Brilliant.
From one image.
I thought you'd pick characters, to tie into maybe, the podcast, but that's fine.
No, I completely forgot to look up characters. It happens. Today, we are wrapping up Phase 5 of the MCU. Yes, it's hard to believe, but we've been here for this entire fifth phase, and the fifth phase is finally over. Running from, January 2023 through to July 2005? So it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been long. And let's call it how it is. Not the strongest.
Let's call a spade,
Yes. So today we'll be ranking all the films and TV series in Phase 5 and giving out some awards to characters and moments and shows or projects based on a lot of the ones we did for our Phase 4 wrap-up, which you can find... Sure, I'll put it in the show notes, that episode, if you want to talk... listen back to that one as well. But yes, we'll put this disclaimer here. We are not including What If Seasons 2 and 3 and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as part of our rankings or discussion, mainly because we have not watched them.
They're
also they're animated.
Canon. None of
them
matter.
They're not in the main universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, not that important. All right, let's kick things off with our bottom 6 things in the projects. Dylan, what is your number 12?
Is there 12 things there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What's my number 12? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay.
Sorry, it's hard not to make just jokes at Jonathan Majors, but it and just that character, which sums up this whole phase, to be honest. Yeah, look, that movie was a huge disappointment when we watched it. Huge step back, let down from the previous two. Missed a lot of the magic. I think taking it into the Quantumverse over that feel of the real world, combining with the technology that was of the first two films, and some of the more fun sequences, like the weird high school thing, the car van chase thing, the taking the building into your pocket, like all these other cool things. And then it's just like we're just in a weird CGI world for the majority of the movie, and bunch of characters and fucking the man who never was there or will be again or whatever the hell, Kang the Conqueror and whatever's going on there. Yeah, just it was a huge disappointment. Plot threads went nowhere, will go nowhere. And looking back at the whole bunch of projects here, that was the one that I was like, that one feels the least eventful and most. I didn't like it then, and looking back, probably like it more now, looking at the whole thing. So
okay. My number 12 is Secret Invasion. The TV series that did nothing for nobody and did all it really did is kill off a bunch of characters who had a lot more potential. Rip Maria Hill, only to tell a story that was ultimately kind of boring, uneventful, and ended with the super soldier, the super Skrull thing that was maybe the worst thing introduced in this phase. I mean, it's up there. It looked pretty rotten. Sorry to Emilia Clarke, but rough. And then we never saw any of those characters ever again. Who was? Yeah, it was Emilia Clarke and somebody else at the very end talking to it. Oh, Olivia Colman. No, was it Olivia Colman? admittedly, Olivia Colman, great part of the series, but couldn't save it or do anything.
You wouldn't shit on my Marvel series, would you, mate?
How could you kill Ben Mendelsohn off? You wouldn't kill me off, would you?
You'd kill me off in my Marvel show, would you, mate?
Devastating. You know, you got all the things you could have popped up in, and then we could do that joke, do the accent. You know, devastating. Dylan, what's your number 11?
Secret Invasion.
Yeah,
all of the above. Yeah. I think I just put it slightly above Quantumania because Ben Mendelsohn was good. Nick Fury was good. Even Sam Jackson's good because he just carries it. He's bringing a lot more to the material than it deserves. But I think like some of those elements sort of just put it a little bit above Secret Invasion. Ant-Man for me.
Okay. Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is my number 11. So yeah, I mean, they're not that different. You know, just a bit of a taste difference, I guess. You know, there was only 2 hours of Quantumania, whereas there was 6 hours of Secret Invasion. So maybe that was a bit of a difference. You know, and I found the Return of Wasp what was he called? Yellow Jacket, very funny as MODOK.
MODOK, yeah,
which a lot of people didn't. Dylan, what's number 10?
My number 10 is Echo.
My number 10 is also Echo.
Fuck, we're on a roll so far.
Yeah. This does not surprise me. Because there may be a right or a wrong for all of this, you know?
Yeah, Echo. I don't think it was... I think the bottom two, I think, are terrible. And then there's some things like Echo is like...
Everything else is kind of mediocre.
It's just... There's a lot of, like, vibes in here, I think. Sort of is what I think. I think Echo starts good. Obviously, we only recently talked about it because we actually completely didn't even watch it until the lead up to Daredevil, obviously. So, but yeah, I think it starts well. I think that the character has a lot of potential. I just don't think that show does any justice to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a fine show that doesn't delve too deep into anything. Especially when Echo herself is an interesting character, you only get a glimpse of Wilson Fisk, and that's kind of to set up where he's going next. So, it's fine. Number 9.
My number 9 is Captain America: Brave New World.
My number 9 is Captain America: Brave New World.
Wow, I don't think we've ever had a list this similar.
I think we'll diverge not too far away.
Yeah, and then but just like even usually we're a bit more off. Yeah, look, obviously I wasn't a big fan of this. We talked about it. Well, I don't think it came out too long ago, so I talked about it. The big Hulk stuff was just whatever. I didn't care for it at all. As much as Harrison Ford is Harrison Fording, it's just still at the end of the movie is still just what the fuck are we like? What are we doing here? What am I watching? Absolute nonsense. I mean, Giancarlo Esposito's in it. I guess it's a pass, even though he doesn't really do a lot. Doesn't do a lot. Tim Blake Nelson's what's the character?
The leader.
The leader. Yeah, wasted. And then as I talked about in the spoiler cast, I just think some of the more interesting elements around the film, which is the Isaiah Bradley stuff with the Captain Americas and the super serum and the exploitation of black people within America and all these sorts of ideas, and then having a black Captain America and all these potential ideas that the film sort of tippy-toes around and does nothing with, and then it just gives you a very bland movie instead. So
yeah, absolutely. Like, there was a lot of potential here, and they just kind of went for this safe, crazy, Incredible Hulk sequel instead. The sequel to a movie came out almost 20 years ago. Crazy. Yeah, it was just a very weird choice for this project, especially when you're trying to promote this new Captain America and like try and tell his story. Just a lot of odd decision making. Dylan, what's number 8?
My number 8 is and was Agatha All.
Wow. Okay.
Now we're diverging. Yeah, thinking back, I think obviously I was the more negative one in the watch along.
Yeah.
I'll say, like, thinking back on it, and I think about the smaller parts. I think about the cast. I'm like, they're great, and I think about these moments and stuff. Like, there's lots of really small things and moments I like and whatnot. But it's just the narrative as a whole. I think it's just the if I think like it's a show that in my I can think back at like small 2 minute scenes that are really good and pick and place them together. But when I'm thinking of the show at large and the story it's sort of told and the way it wrapped up with death and how that all played out, and then with the reveal of John Locke's character and stuff, I'm like, I just didn't feel fulfilled by the show at all, and I felt sort of let down as the somewhat spiritual successor to WandaVision, obviously. I mean, Catherine Hahn is still Catherine Hahn, so it still gets that. So,
yeah. My number 8 is Ironheart. Obviously, a show that we've just finished watching. That got dumped on television. Dumped, just put out there,
just laid out there for all the
laid
bear.
out there.
Yeah.
And we've discussed our issues with that or a lot recently of how we feels like it kind of finished on the most interesting part and was like, I don't think Riri's the most interesting character, or like all the villains were that interesting, or they very odd or weird, making crazy choices. The most exciting thing in the show was Mephisto showing up. So yeah, I mean it's enjoyable, but yeah, I mean a lot of these middle things are going to be around the same level. So that's my number 8. Dylan, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is Loki season 2.
My number 7 is Loki season 2.
There we go, back on track.
Yeah,
it was just a bit of a step back from the first season. The overarching narrative of this season around the TVA blowing up or whatever it was, or the world ending, basically. The timelines blowing up. Or
admittedly, this is one of the ones that is hardest to remember what the plot was.
Yeah, it's also heavily reliant on the man who never
trying
was,
to stop the timelines like not blowing up.
Yeah,
whatever's trying to contain the timelines.
Yeah, and I think we still have a lot of the core cast from the first season that made it enjoyable, but I think in their newly formed, more friendly or not so friendly relationships, I think sort of like Sophia Di Martino, Sylvie, Loki in season 1 as more of a what's it? Do you antagonist? No, what's the word? Do you antagonist like a bad guy, good guy sort of character? That
antagonist,
yeah,
like protagonist,
yeah, like,
anti-hero,
that sort of thing. I think that was more interesting than the role she played in the second season. I mean, Owen Wilson, Mobius is still funny. Tom Hiddleston was still good as Loki, but I just don't think any of it was as interesting as the first season's. Hey, there's a bunch of Lokis running around, like sort of capture them, figure out what's going on there. The whole OB thing, I thought the casting of Kiyu Khan was sort of almost stunt casting to me in retrospect. And then obviously all the Jonathan Major stuff just stands out as sort of fun stuff as well.
Yeah, I think from memory, this was a show where like most of the season, like, what's the point? What are we doing? Where are we going? And it did hit a high note of that last episode of like all kind of explaining and kind of come together, but the journey to get there was not as rewarding.
Yeah,
from my memory of our recollection of our discussion. So maybe if I revisited, it'd be a little bit higher on this list because it's just been a while. But yeah, number 7. So before we jump into our top 6, let's run through some of the other categories we want to talk about. Dylan, who would you say is the best new hero that was introduced this season? From I'll give you some of the answers that we get for the last phase. Last phase, I said Yelena Belova, and both you and Kieran said Kamala Khan. Who's the best new hero of phase 5?
It's funny because I don't remember what any of us said. So my answer is Yelena Belova.
But she's not a new hero.
She wasn't a hero last. My argument is she wasn't a hero last time.
Fucking hell. All right, I'll allow it.
She wasn't though. She only becomes a hero this phase,
Sure, whatever you want to say. My issue with this,
more than one TV show and movie, and what do you want to watch? Like, fuck now.
My issue with this category that we created last time, I don't think there were that many new heroes introduced when you think about it throughout the entire.
So you want to get panty about my answer and then go, oh, I'm really struggling to pick a fucking answer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So my answer is Wiccan from Agatha all along.
Sure.
I guess technically was introduced in WandaVision, but like, we're going to have to stretch it out as far as possible because this was weirdly a phase of telling stories for characters we shoehorned into stuff in phase 4. Or followed up on, I guess. Very few new characters. All right, best returning hero answers for the last phase were Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Wanda.
Who said
Dylan,
what?
I said Spider-Man, Kieran said Doctor Strange, Dylan said Wanda. Who's your best returning hero this year?
I felt this one was sort of easy. I feel like the answer's Wolverine.
Okay.
Like I can give points there. The big old claws is back. So
I said Yelena. So best returning hero.
A new hero. Like really, she's
she's just Yeah. Florence Pugh can do anything. Best antagonist.
This
so
was
last
a
phase
shit category, I'll say.
Last phase, I said Wanda.
Yep.
Kieran said Namor, and you famously.
Namor.
Do you remember what you famously said was the best antagonist
in any of this? So
you said Trauma.
And you know what? Fair, totally fair.
Yeah,
totally fair.
The more we thought about it, the more correct you were. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I don't have as insightful as an answer for this podcast, unfortunately. I went with the High Evolutionary.
I've also went with the High Evolutionary, who I think is the best villain and most like
at a shit pile.
I mean, he's still a pretty good villain in the MCU in general, but there was no.
I don't think there was anything
clear
else
competition.
Close. Like I just looked through all the movie titles.
I mean, Kingpin, I guess, would be your closest, but he didn't do anything too villainous.
He became mayor.
Yeah,
he raised rent or something.
Yeah. Best soundtrack.
So I got two answers only because I'm going to Galaxy Volume 3 if we're going straight up like mixed soundtrack, and then Loki Season 2 if we're going orchestral, like original music.
Yeah, I went Loki just for the orchestral. Went back and watched the scene and pretty impressive. So got no issues with that. I think last year phase, me and Kieran both went Ms. Marvel, and you went with Shang-Chi. Interestingly, next category is best dressed. Last phase, I went Moon Knight, Kieran went Wanda, and you went Doctor Strange. Where have you gone this year?
Agatha Harkness.
Phase. Okay.
Because many costume changes, very with those witchy gothic vibes. Like they change costumes basically every episode when they're in the different settings or whatever we did across the season and stuff. So, but yeah, Agatha Harkness. I felt this.
Yes. I went with Wolverine. Finally in the yellow suit.
That's a
very happy
costume.
Shut your fucking mouth. We finally got to see it on screen. Hugh Jackman wear it. Also, he got to wear all those other variant costumes as well. So, he got to wear the cowl. It looked great. Even when he was a full CGI model, Who was the phase clown / the funniest character?
I went because I had a few people, but then I kept going, why am I like deep down? I know who I want to pick. Why am I trying to think of a better answer? So I just went Red Guardian, David Arbor.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
I went with Agatha.
So
filled. No. I think Agatha had a lot of jokes across that show. Even when she was in mortal danger. So that was my pick. Who do we have last phase? Best clowns. She-Hulk, Yelena. I went She-Hulk, Kieran went Yelena, and you went Madison.
Yeah, Madison. What a fucking pick. Shout out to the girls.
Where is she?
Where is she in this fucking phase? Yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah.
No wonder it failed.
Best supporting character.
I went Mobius.
Okay, Mobius.
Yeah. Like, if I think supporting, I think Owen Wilson is
That's a good. That is a good pick.
Supporting
Not one I
vibe,
thought about.
Yeah.
I actually doubled up from who I went with last phase.
Mm.
And Yusuf and Manib Khan, Kamala Khan's parents, who are very supportive in the show and very supportive in the movie, and extra supportive in the one episode of Daredevil.
It's true. Very true.
So, last phase, I said Yusuf and the Khans. Kieran said Yelena. And Dylan said Wong. It was a solid pick as well. Best post-credit scene. Last phase, I said Shang-Chi. Kieran said Black Panther, and you also said Shang-Chi.
I am going with the Marvels because X-Men.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good choice.
I felt like the most exciting post-credit scene of this season, I guess.
And I went with the other most exciting, Thunderbolts, which effectively threw it back to the old school way that they used to do, where it tied into whatever the next film was coming. Last one of these before we finish up our list. Dylan, what was the best cameo?
Human Torch, Deadpool vs. Wolverine.
Absolutely, Johnny Storm was on mine as well. Because it's so good because we thought it wasn't him. What a beautiful misdirect.
It was truly a surprise.
Last phase we had Kingpin. I said Kingpin. Kieran said Toby and Andrew. The other Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And you said Evan Peters.
Oh, in
as Quicksilver, yeah, in WandaVision, yeah. All right, let's jump back to our ranking list. Dylan, what have you got as number 6?
So not that much further than you, but number 6 I've got Ironheart.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of recency bias because again, I've been talking about it and saying it's okay, enjoyed it for what it was. Maybe if I'd rewatched Loki, I would have put it higher, and who knows? But a little bit of recency bias has potentially placed it here, but nonetheless, it's still, as we've talked about a lot, just okay. A little bit disappointed by the end, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would coming into it. So,
my number 6 is The Marvels. Probably an underrated film. I think there's a lot of fun stuff in here, especially the opening, or the first example of them swapping places, like kind of all swapping during the fights and that kind of stuff. And I think the team dynamic is really interesting, and like the crazy singing world, which is ultimately kind of let down by bad villain, who I'm sure you kind of remember who they are or what their problem was.
Displation.
That's true.
So yes, I can.
And they were called.
Yeah, I remember that, man.
No, okay, yep. And then the final events kind of being crazy. So, but yeah, Marvels was a lot of fun. So just in the top half. Dylan, what's your number 5?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine sits number 5 for me as well.
I'm
crazy.
Shocked. We've agreed.
I think
sits.
A top 3. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. Look, I usually I'm not a huge fan of the movie, and I think in a better phase this would have sat a lot lower, but here we are. It's okay. It's got its moments. It's got laugh out loud. Like, I've watched it twice. I don't think it stands up as I think it's worse on the second watch, to be completely honest. I think it's a event film where it's you watch it, all the jokes work. It's like a roller coaster ride, but once you've sort of seen the magic, I don't think it works as much the second time. And I definitely do think it nearly falls into that category of it's less a film and more of a more of like a roller coaster ride / product. Like, it's a
event.
It's made to shock and surprise and have these so yeah.
I mean, it was fan service, the movie, and I was here for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's
it gave me all the moments that I wanted, all the costumes and stuff, and cameos and appearances and crossovers, and dumb jokes and that kind of stuff. It was a fun time while you're watching it, and then you came out and were thinking about it later, and you're like, wait, that didn't make sense. That didn't add up. That that could have been stronger. That kind of thing. So, one of those kind of movies. So, what do you know? Dylan, what's number 4?
Number 4 is Daredevil Born Again.
Okay.
which had I think a mixed season, but overall still very exciting setup for the show. I'll say if you have this high, I'm going to say it's because you've combined all of the all 4 or 5 seasons, whatever it is, in your head in one place because you binged it all to catch up to this. But I think it starts like pretty strong, and then I think by the time we got to like episode 4, it sort of like middles out a little bit across a few episodes across there, and then by the time we get to the end of it, it sort of comes back at the other end and sets it up well for the show to continue. But I mean, overall, it's still got a lot of the core cast that we had in the original Netflix run. Was it 3 seasons or 4? I can't.
Three.
Yeah. So obviously Charlie Cox is still really good. Vincent D'Onofrio is really good. We get all these fantastic people back. But the big disappointment is, Deborah Ann Wool's in it for like 2 seconds. We replace her with someone we don't care about. Like these are the Frank Castle shows up for a minute. Has a fight scene that I didn't particularly like the more I think back on it, and I'm just saying, why did it anyway? But overall still was easily, spoilers, I've got nothing but movies above here, so the best, it's my pick for the best show.
Okay. My number 4 is Agatha All Along, a show that I've really enjoyed, that I felt at times was like a magic trick, that pulled like full surprises over the top of me, that introduced. I'm a big Young Avengers fan, so seeing Wiccan for the first time was really fantastic. It's kind of delving into this magical side of the MCU. Agatha's really fun. Aubrey Plaza was fantastic as Death. Just a fantastic ride all the way through. So, with a stellar cast, lots of great performances, fun songs, fun situations, had a bit of everything. All right, so what's your number 3?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay. Our lists are definitely not going to end up the same at the top.
It has the best villain, has wraps up somewhat, I guess, the Peter Quill story and a lot of the characters at these things. And I definitely feel like it's, as far as if you've as Rocket's movie, really interesting character to pick to sort of center the way to finish his trilogy, and all that stuff's really good. I do think some of the other characters sort of get, obviously, not as much time, I guess, to the side, and then it's a huge improvement over Volume 2. I'd say is the biggest thing, especially when it comes to the final act. Like, I'm not a big fan at all of the final act of Volume 2, and I'm sure I've talked about that a few times. So I think ultimately, by the time we get to the end of this movie, it's still a lot better, but I still did love the whole explosion, freezing in space, saving, weird, introduce Adam Warlock thing. But I mean, overall, it was still a lot of fun. It's still a Guardians film. Still a great time. I think I watched it. Yeah, I watched it at cinemas and I watched it at home once. So a lot of fun. Obviously, top 3 for me of the ranking. So can't be bad.
Number 3 for me, Daredevil Born Again. Again, you might be right that I'm tying it all together, because I've got all this added backstory before. But I think, in making a very bold choice out of the gate, being like a brutal, even more brutal than the Netflix show at times. I think, telling a very interesting story, delving into the different characters, and then you've got the whole Kingpin storyline about him trying to, I guess, turn over a new leaf to a certain extent and be mayor. Every time there was someone who showed up from the past, it was really exciting. I think, one of my favorite scenes of the phase was like the conversation that Punisher and Daredevil have the first time when they meet up. So many times you hit you emotionally in the gut, and I'm very excited to see where they're going with season 2. That's my number 3. Dylan, was your number 2?
We've definitely got the same number 1. My number 2 is The Marvels.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed the chemistry between everyone. We enjoyed the action fight that you talked about before. Thought it was very funny. I had a great time. We'll say, since you asked it, I now remember. So it is about the Kree Empire which Carol Danvers flew back into, destroyed the, I can't remember the exact name of the thing, the item, but basically sends their world into a dying state because their son's now dying, and basically you got this person, and then they're trying to say, she's trying to save her planet for her people, so you sort of feel bad for her. She's like one of those like relatable villains. And then you've got the Skrulls, they're over here, they're being displaced from their people. Really, the movie's about how the effects of what's happening in the Marvel universe has caused all these different things to happen across space and stuff like that. It's deep.
Deep.
Yeah. A cat eats people too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
Lots
of
of cats eat people.
Lots of cats, yeah.
Lots of cats. My number 2 is Thunderbolts.
Oh!
Sorry,
I got it wrong.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I think, fantastic film. We're in love with Florence Pugh here at the Explosion Network. Anything she's in is fantastic. I think great use of Red Guardian, great use of bringing all these, kind of forgotten characters back together, and kind of the whole being all the pieces being more than the whole. You know what I mean? The team being stronger than the individuals. And then you got Bob Sentry, and his the whole Void thing that's introduced. It's really fantastic, and like exciting to see him with the look from the comic books and that kind of thing. But yeah, the whole Void effect, and then the film ending much like Guardians of the Galaxy, with everybody hugging, and that solves all the problems, and then kind of catapulting this into the future of the MCU.
Yeah, my number one's Thunderbolts, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm saying I do think that the higher echelon of this at most are like sevens, which is what like it's still what we're dealing with here. Is there's like no like really good movie or really good TV show IMO of this phase, which is sort of says something. But I think out of all the movies, this one just felt the most exciting. It did feel like, oh, finally. It took you nearly the entire phase, but this feels like fresh, and we're moving characters forward, and we're moving the universe forward, and I like all these characters. Yes, please give me more of these characters. So sort of missed that because I can't remember the last time I finished a film was like, more please of. Can I have more of these characters, please? These Marvel comic book characters. But yeah, I just loved the chemistry between all of them. I thought the movie was a lot of fun. It did, did the action well, but and most importantly, the movie was just, it actually had surprisingly a lot less action than you thought. And it was the greatest thing about it was just the talking, just the interactions between all of its cast members and stuff, which I really, really loved. Yeah, it was funny as well, as I pointed out. The best, some would say the best face clown in Red Guardian. So
yeah, some would say.
Yeah.
My number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I've always been a little bit more higher on Guardians of the Galaxy than Dylan has. And I feel like the conclusion of their story, or at least this iteration, this version of the team story, was really beautiful and emotional. The whole Rocket storyline running through the film, it was really heartfelt and captivating, and then just the High Evolutionary being this fuck all wannabe god character that is willing to kill all these other people for the sake of his own ego and that kind of stuff. Very fascinating, and just like the scale of it was really appealing and cool. And then it's just fun to be with all these characters at least for one last time. And I doubt we'll ever see these characters all these characters in another film again. So that's why number 1. All right, last couple of categories. These next two pretty much answer themselves. Best TV show, I think we both agree. Daredevil.
Yep.
Best film, I said Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You say Thunderbolts.
Asterisk.
Nothing wrong.
Also, looking at Apple TV the other day, right? Looking at the store page, scrolling through, see that's available for premium rental now. It literally says, like the poster on the TV, it says Thunderbolts, asterisk, the New Avengers.
Yeah.
Like that's just
okay. Just getting you.
Just okay.
Got both. Get both ways.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
Dylan, what is the most marvelous moment of Phase 5?
I think I've got the right pick here because you've mentioned it and I've mentioned it, which I think verbatim. So we have mentioned one moment separately, And even though it's from a film you don't think of as high as me, I think it proves the fact. What do you think I'm talking about? What have you mentioned? And I've mentioned. The only thing.
the Marvel's fight scene.
Yeah. So Marvel's moment, Marvel's Street. I think if I'm looking back at all, because I'm just reading this as like what felt like the most, just like an exciting thing. Doesn't have to be an action scene, but like obviously just something that like has, I'm just thinking like comic booky, but like it feels Marvel. Like this feels like I'm watching a Marvel. Like I couldn't get this scene in something else, and that was it for me. I've spoke highly of this scene. I think since the movie came out, I thought it was put together really well, considering how you could have done it in a way that just made it feel so confusing and just like over edited, I think. But I thought it was done for that scene. It was just really exciting, a lot of fun. I've watched that movie a couple times now, and that scene is as enjoyable every time to me. So,
okay, mine is a different moment and kind of a different direction. Mine is Loki becoming the god of stories, creating the World Tree. At the end of Loki season 2, I think a beautifully brought together moment that feels earned. The music playing is fantastic. Visuals of him like growing that cloak and everything, and then just pulling these threads of the universe together. I think a very fitting end to this character that we've been following for 5 phases. So yeah. So that's kind of all of our categories for Phase 5, but we can't leave without making some guesses and comments about Phase 6 that's about to come. So, first question, what plot thread do we want to see continued in Phase 6? Here are answers for Phase 4. I said, I would like to see the Kang variants and more of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Dylan said he really wants Wanda to come back from the dead and do more stuff.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I got that.
Kieran said, what, for 1 second and I kept her along? And Kieran said, Spider-Man. Got none of that, unfortunately, in this phase. Dylan, what do you want to see in Phase 6?
This is Slim Pickens is the answer to this. So I'm going to say, and it's sort of a cop-out, but also true, I'm going to say, much to my what was the best post-credit scene, I would like to see the mutants continued.
No, that's fair.
Yep.
Mutants finally figured out.
Yep. Introduce the mutants.
Solve that problem.
Yep. Solve that.
Mine is also pulled from my favorite post-credit scene. Avengers versus New Avengers. Like, what is the situation with that? How is that going to factor into the Avengers films that are coming up? Are they going to work together? Are they going to be antagonistic? How are they working with each other? Final question. Most anticipated project in Phase 6. Answers last one. Yep. Mine was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh,
so I ended up happy.
10 points for you.
Yeah. You said Blade.
Great. Well, you know what? The costumes went to this year's best film so far, so
So part of Blade,
lives on.
Yeah,
it's fine.
And Kieran said Captain America: New World Order.
Idiot.
Talked about how it's going to create a spy thriller because that's what we thought it was going to be at the time.
Yeah, sure.
So go listen to that spoiler cast where Kieran comes out very disappointed. Well, the few spoiler casts he appeared in this phase. Okay, so what are you excited for Phase? What we know of Phase 6?
I have got a very boring answer, but I think it's the only thing I could pick, which is Fantastic Four.
Mine is also the very boring answer for Fantastic Four.
I think the thing is here, just especially coming off this phase, we are, I think, rightfully putting a lot on that film. This is the this is the next big thing. This is the direction we're heading in now. This is don't worry, guys, we're coming back, sort of thing. So as much as you could be like, yeah, I'm excited to see the Avengers and whatever they're filming now and whatever else going on there, I'm like, I cannot get excited about that until I see this. So
yeah, I mean, it's the freshest thing that we've got coming up. Well, there are some interesting things that are coming up, but it is the one that we're expecting to hit the nitrous on this phase.
Yeah.
Don't get us to warp speed or whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, obviously it's the closest and the one that we know the most about, and the most thing that we're most sure is actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's,
So that
2
after
weeks
being
away
burned
at
so
the
many
moment,
times, you know, so it's going to help. So just quick run through of what we know of Phase 6 so far. Fantastic Four First Steps, July 25th. I'm assuming these American dates.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Brand New Day, July 31st, 2026. Avengers Doomsday, December 18th, 2026. And Avengers Secret Wars, December 17th, 2027. Those are the only films confirmed currently.
Do you think it's I kind of forget that Spider-Man's just been snuck in there, right?
Yeah.
Does it feel like that's been stuck in there? To me, it felt like we went from like, oh, Spider-Man, maybe one day we'll come back to that or something. And then one day it was like...
but I feel like we always knew it was on that conveyor belt of it needs to be done, otherwise...
But I didn't think it was coming, like, until you said that, I'm like, oh, it's before Avengers.
Yeah. We also do have a Marvel Studio movie slated for July 23rd, 2027 between the two Avengers films. But no word of what that's going to be. On the TV front, we've got Eyes of Wakanda coming August 27th this year. Right? Yes. Marvel Zombies is coming October 3rd, 2025, also as animated. Yeah. Then we have Wonder Man coming in December.
Is that going to happen?
It's already filmed.
Is it?
It's all done.
Okay.
I believe, yeah. With
that guy.
Abdul Mateen II.
Yep.
Yep. Then we've got Daredevil Born Again coming March next year. Vision Quest.
Yeah, I'm keen for that.
Slated for 2026.
Keen for that.
Interesting casting and stuff so far. So, and then another season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is good around to watching. Also, the Untitled Punisher special next year.
Marvel special presentation or whatever they call them.
Yes, whatever they want to call it. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
I do wonder, not to combine both of the all new podcasts, but I do wonder. Marvel sort of had free reign for a while of like the DC film universe. They've been fumbling. They don't even exist, right? Now that Marvel sort of fumbled the bag on theirs, if DC comes out, we're recording this before Superman's out this week. If DC comes out, Superman's good, Supergirl's good. You know, like maybe and this is true of any industry, right? Maybe a bit of friendly competition will help all parties.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like, do we think what happened with Jonathan Majors, kind of?
Oh yeah, 100. It has, but at the end of the day, I don't think. Like, I'm still looking at those like Ant-Man and the Wasp was shit anyway.
Was still a bad movie.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. But
even with him in there.
Yeah, it affects their plans going forward for sure, and they had to pivot. But I don't think either way it really mattered, because even that storyline wasn't that interesting. To the point when we knew that they weren't going to finish it, it was like, oh no, I don't care.
All right. Let us know what you loved from Phase 5 by finding us on Blue Sky at explosionnetwork.com, or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at an all-new Marvel cast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and equally 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Be sure to join us next time for another all-new Marvel cast.